Hey there, guys. This is Slamzeron, aka YouTube's Tasuke, and we have finished Let's Play the Crooked Man. Yep, it's all done. I do this with I think most. I don't remember if I did this with the Legacy of Goku games. I know I didn't do it for the first one because that was the first the first game I LP, and I'm pretty sure I didn't do it with River City Ransom EX. But I do these things called like aftermaths, where I kind of give a little mini review as well as talk about what I'm gonna Let's Play next. Um, so that's a thing. And overall, I liked The Crooked Man. It was a decent game. I thought that the RPG elements and sort of the integrated RPG themes, like the health and whatnot, like that was actually kind of interesting. And um, this is so far as I remember, between the horror games that I think I've only it's only been Misao, Matt Father, and this one, I think. Between the three of those, this one had the most combat and the most action, whereas the others were just like all, or mostly all, puzzles. I mean, there was a little bit of like action, I think, in Misao, and I think Matt Father might have had something too, or something more related to timing. But it's still like a form of action. So the Crooked Man was definitely probably the most involved of the games. It wasn't just all puzzles, it was mostly puzzles. But I liked how that gave us a little bit of action, even though you can cheat the system by doing the menu and playing with it. But and translation seemed fine. I mean, I don't know anything about. I'm just the script. I guess I should maybe say the script. The script was pretty good. It was well written. It was pretty natural. It didn't feel sort of alienated from English or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? How like some fan translations or just translations in general, when the in the translated language they kind of sound like it would sound too literal. But the Crooked Man, it sounded pretty good. It was well done. So good job, VG person. Um, David kind of started off like a bit of a jerk with the whole like, can you just stop? Can you just stop being emotional and just like be quiet because I'm trying to sleep? And I'm just like, David, there was a nicer way to handle it. I understand you're human, but there's a difference between having a spine and being a dick. And his spine is fine. I think that's the way I put it in the in that episode. Um, Graphically, it looked nice. It was a nice looking game. Yeah, it was pretty good. The only issue, and I know this was kind of talked about in the comments, but I kind of looked into it a little bit more, so it's still a bit of an issue. The uh the thing with the color blindness and pilot thing, it didn't really seem realistic to me because I know in the video, like, I brought up the idea, like, wait, would being colorblind really prevent you from being a pilot? I actually looked into it, and it turns out you can be a pilot even if you're colorblind. It just depends on how severe it is, and you have to do a bunch of tests. And even then, if it's like a certain, if it's severe enough, like you might just be limited as opposed to not being able to do it. And so because of that, I felt like, or with that new information in mind, I felt like the whole thing where like, oh, I'm colorblind, so I can't be a pilot. I felt like that was just a little unreal. I know what they were trying to do, what Udi was trying to do, but I felt like, to people who don't, because I didn't know about the whole colorblind pilot. I didn't even think about it until this game brought it up. But when I was playing through the scene, I'm thinking like, well, color blindness, particularly in men, is actually pretty common from what I understand. And assuming this game takes place at least in like 2000s, maybe even 2010, I don't know if it's meant to take place like in the year that you play it. Like, if it's one of those games where it's supposed to be kind of timeless in that regard, if that makes any sense. I don't know what that case is, but I felt like, okay, so there's a little bit of modern technology, you know, even from a standpoint of like, if you had to like get surgery. I'm thinking like, oh, maybe you can get LASIK, but I don't know anything about LASIK. So but yeah, I felt like it was a bit unrealistic. At least the way it was presented, because it made to me it was presented like, oh well, there's something he could have done. He just kind of gave up, and that may have been what Udi was going for as well. The idea that David kind of just gave up, which I think would be kind of fitting. I also feel like if it was the idea that like he can't do his dreams, like it's hopeless. If they wanted to go that route, because again, it depends on how severe it is. So if it's severe enough, you probably can't do it because it's probably just too bad. So maybe what they could have done is maybe hint at it a little bit more. Um, maybe it would be putting a little bit of faith on the player to kind of pick up on it, but maybe do a thing where like something is colored sort of like an sort of like an obviously ambiguous color, like let's say maroon, maybe, because some people might say purple, some people might say pink, and some people might say red. Like maybe he says like, oh, that's yellow, or not. I mean, obviously not something like that, but you know what I mean, where like they give a little hint that like, oh, it's pretty severe. Or even in the scene, he could have been on like, I took a bunch of tests, and I might just be forgetting this, so you'll have to forgive me if I've forgotten like a major part of that section where he's just like, it's just not. But from what I remember, the whole thing was that he was colorblind and he couldn't do it. But it maybe if they did a thing like, oh well, I took a test and I didn't make the cut or something. Again, I could be completely stupid, and I might actually look back, um, and take a look at that part and sort of see exactly what he says. I'll put a I'll um I'll put an annotation on this specific section if there's an update. If there's not an update, then you can just assume that it was what I believe it is. But yeah, that was my real only issue. It was just kind of unrealistic, I think. Because to me, again, color blindness being as common as it is, particularly in men, from what I understand, it seems kind of like it's like something that in this modern world, like people have learned to kind of work around. And it's like having ADD, which I have. It's like there's not necessarily a cure, but you learn how to cope with it. And in some people's cases, I only say some just because I don't know, but in my case in particular, I got to a point where I stopped taking ADD medicine because I was able to cope with it. Of course, I was diagnosed pretty early on, so I say early on. I don't remember what age I was, but I think it was like the middle of elementary school, maybe. Um, but yeah, that was my real only criticism with the game. I felt like that specific section was a little bit unrealistic, especially with the message I felt like the game was trying to go with, and I think I talked about that in the episode. The messages and theme of this game was actually pretty strong. At first it started off kind of I was worried it was going to be kind of bleak, but it is a little bleak, but it does have a bit of hope in it, and I kind of like that. And I like the symbolism in Sissy, D, and Fluffy. I thought that was interesting. Um, did we ever learn what Paul knew? I might have been reading too much into that, but I kind of got the impression that Paul knew something that that David didn't know, that he was hiding from David or something. But yeah, overall it was definitely a good game. I would recommend it for those who want to play it. Um, it was good, definitely good. And for those of you who didn't get a chance to watch the LP, the I will say, like I said in the last video, the playlist it's good to go. It's up now. I had it unlisted. I think I had it either unlisted or private, but I had it done, and just so I could have it in time for this video. So it's good to go if you want to watch the entire thing, even if you've watched the entire thing already. If you just want to watch it again or have an archive of it or whatever, uh, now's a good. I just want to let you guys know that now's a good time because the playlist is up, all the episodes, and yeah. There will be a link in the description to the playlist. And there will also be a link in the description to something else because it's time to talk about what I'm going to LP next. Now, you guys know how I like to kind of do things. In the past, it was Legacy of Goku, and then sort of indie / visual novel game. Legacy of Goku, indie / visual novel game. It ended up becoming an indie horror game. But both because I've finished the Legacy of Goku games, and also just for other reasons that I'm going to get into, I am actually thinking about trying something different. I kind of want to play something different, and there are a few games I have in mind, and I'm going to briefly talk about my experience with these games, and I was thinking you guys could maybe vote. I'm just going to do a straw poll. That being said, one of them is a Dragon Ball game, so it's not like. And also, if you listen to the podcast, or if you happen to like Webfoot Technologies, a Facebook page, you'll know that they actually are trying to make a Legacy of Goku 4. So, there's a chance that Legacy of Goku will come back in some way or form, even if it gets to a point to where I'm just doing it as a different series, with different games. For those who are like, I just want to watch you play Dragon Ball games and try to experience the series that way. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of briefly talk about my ideas. I wanted to put it up to you guys to vote. It's gonna be done via straw poll. I don't know if they let people type in their own responses. I don't know how to do that. If you even can. So I do want to put it out there with that in mind that if any of the games in this list you're not interested in, just type in the comments what game you want me to play. Whether it be something I have, or something that I haven't played before and I don't have. Be sure to list what console it's for if it is something I haven't played before, because that's gonna kind of go into how I play it, whether it be emulator or if I actually try to find a real copy of the game. And just for the sake of keeping things simple, if you agree with that person, just thumbs it up or something. So and I'll check the description as well. There'll also be an annotation at the very beginning of the video saying read the description for those who just want to get to the point. This is mainly for those who want the extra details. But yeah, like I said, feel free to let me know if you want me to play something different. But yeah, I guess I'll just kind of jump into the list of games now. The first game I'm going to talk about is, in my opinion, in terms of the formula that we had going on for a while, probably the most logical of any of the choices in this particular series, and that game is Dragon Ball Advance Adventure for the Game Boy Advance, as you can probably tell, because Advance, you can see it on the image, Advance. Anyway, I picked this one because it's for the Game Boy Advance, so just by the sheer console, they share the same, or it shares the same with Legacy of Goku, that entire series, and it is a different game in terms of its genre. It is a 2D side scroller, which that's fine. I mean, Legacy of Goku was an action RPG, so it's not like they're that different. And this game, it goes through the entire Dragon Ball saga, and by Dragon Ball I mean like the first series, like when Goku was a kid. So like Emperor Pilaf all the way through King Piccolo, which would take us to the beginning of Legacy of Goku 1, which would actually kind of bring us full circle on the story. The canon story, that is. I know there's Dragon Ball GT Transformation that was actually made by the Legacy of Goku people. This one here is a game made in Japan that was brought over in North America later on. I think it was one of the later Dragon Ball games and one of the later Game Boy Advance games. I actually got it like a couple of years ago. I never picked it up. I did play it emulated back in the old days, a little bit of it. So it's not entirely blind. It's I have played a little bit of it. I've played up to Emperor Pilaf's castle, like the beginning part of that. If you've seen the show, it's like with the ball and whatnot. And So again, I've played a little bit of it, but it's mostly blind. Not that I don't know how the story goes because it's Dragon Ball. It's going to be mainly just the presentation of how things go in the game itself. I'm not going to really know too much beyond what I've seen. And the game does have a versus mode, so that would probably make for a good bonus episode. Probably just one. I can't think of any others unless there's like just a giant tournament that we happen to hold, and like it just spans like 17 or whatever bonus episodes. Um, but yeah, I think this would actually be a pretty good progression in keeping with a Dragon Ball. Um, and it would also, for those who are actually trying to get into Dragon Ball through my Let's Plays and are trying to take in the basic story through these games, uh, Advanced Adventure would be the next step, I think. We'd be going backwards story wise, but there's no game on Super yet, or Battle of Gods, or Resurrection F. Not like their actual like full things. Again, there is Legacy of Goku 4 that's supposed to be getting kickstarted pretty soon, and I'll be backing the heck out of that. But yeah, I think that'd be a pretty logical step. I know there's Dragon Ball Origins on the DS, but those games, from what I understand, they only go up to the Red Ribbon. There's two of them on the DS, and there's a third. It's kind of its own thing. Revenge of King Piccolo on the Wii, which is sort of like a 3D Advanced Adventure, but all it does is like do like Red Ribbon and King Piccolo, um, which I might just make that a commentary and bring back that old series. But yeah, I think that would be the next logical step with a Dragon Ball. I don't know if I'm gonna emulate it or play it on my Game Boy player because I do actually own the game. It really depends. We can figure that out when the time comes. Should this be the one you guys pick? But yeah, it'd be kind of fun, and good old Dragon Ball. But yeah, the next one is with Nightcry. I know I said I would do Nightcry, though unfortunately I'm thinking it would be better for me to wait on it just because of the state it's in. I talked about it in one of the Crooked Man episodes, and I said it really was best to wait, and even now I think it's still best to wait. Even though the reviews are, if you actually read the reviews, they're pretty interesting. But I think it'd be best to either wait or do like a stream or something. I don't know. I think because I'm pretty sure I said I would let's play it, so I might just wait. But in place of that, for the time being, I was thinking, especially considering I get the impression that when I did the video on the fan translation that I worked on for this particular game, hint hint, not that you can't already tell what it is because you see the image, um, but I was thinking, or rather, I got the impression that some people were expecting me to do a full playthrough. And with that in mind, I was thinking the next game could be Clock Tower: The First Fear for the PS1. Obviously, the fan translated version that I worked on. So it would be in English. I wouldn't play a Japanese only game, not unless you guys really wanted me to. If you just want to be like, play this Japanese game without English text, and be like, okay. I mean, none of us are going to really know what they're saying unless someone who's watching happens to know Japanese. And I know some people who could help translate, but, you know, it would be sort of like a quick, rough translation. So it's like if you just want to know what's going on, um, that would be the only way. With this game in particular, um, it's not entirely blind. I have seen the entire story through a Let's Play that I watched of the Super Nintendo version that was fan translated. Um, and as far as my personal experience playing the game, I've gotten pretty far, and it actually In terms of like horror games, this one's actually pretty good because one, like it is seen as sort of like the quintessential, one of the quintessential Super Nintendo horror games, and I'm sort of getting goosebumps. Um, Not as much as the first recording of this section that I did because recording more than once to make sure things are perfect. um, but there's actually a part in the game where it gets really here comes the goosebumps, where it gets really eerie, and it's like a music thing, and it was very hard to go back to that room. Like it was I've never really felt that with a game before. I think it might have just been because I was really listening to it, and I don't know how it's going to sound on the TV, because I'll probably play the actual game because I actually do have the actual game, and I can burn an ISO and play it on my PS2 that way. I don't think I'd emulate it unless there was just a lot of technical difficulties. Then I probably would emulate it. I don't know. I'd want to set everything up like ahead of time. So by the time if this one gets chosen, by the time I decide to do it, um, or by the time like it gets time to do it, because I'm gonna obviously take a break. Um, I will have figured out like how to specifically to go about recording it. Um, I know I do have the tools needed for the Elgato to record it, and I guess if we absolutely have to, I've got the Dazzle. And I think I know of some ways to like make it look better. With the help of a friend as well. Um, and now this one, like because I worked on the fan translation, I'd be able to give some like insight. It would kind of be more like the Dragon Ball games, where I'm giving more like theories and like personal insight on stuff, and giving like analysis on the story. Not so much on the analysis part, just because I don't know if I have enough knowledge of the Clock Tower series to really go into full detail. I think I did a big video on like a big Clock Tower aftermath when that was like this big commentary series I was doing. Um, and I've done videos on Clock Tower 1 before, especially if you're a longtime Tasuke subscriber, you'll know that I did like 4 videos on Clock Tower because I really enjoyed it. Um, and I think doing a full playthrough would be kind of fun. I've been wanting to do one for a while, so that could be fun. And the PS1 version, um, it has some extra content as well that I could probably show. And it just has some general enhancements that I think would be fun to explore. So that would be, and I think it has uh, FMV cutscenes, or at least maybe 1 or 2. Also, because it's a series of games, I was thinking this would actually uh, replace Legacy of Goku in terms of like an ongoing series I could do. I don't know if I would I don't know if I'd do anything in between unless there was something in particular you guys wanted me to do, or like maybe do like a one-off in place of like the indie or whatever. But I could do like let's say we do the first sphere, um do whatever I do in between, like either just a longer break or a smaller game, like a 1 episode thing, and then go into Clock Tower 2, do another break, then go into maybe a Ghost Head / Struggle Within, or maybe just go straight to Clock Tower 3. I don't know, and go from there. And that could be. I mean, I think that'd be another. That's like another 4 games. So, or technically 3 if we decide not to do Struggle Within / Ghost Head, or whatever you want to fucking call it. Um, language. So that could. So when you're voting for this one, keep in mind that you are technically also voting for the rest of the series, possibly. If you want to just vote in the comments, that's fine, and say like I'm voting, but I don't want to do it a series. Or of course we could always just figure it out. I could just kind of see how it goes. And again, I kind of got the impression that some people actually wanted me to do a full playthrough, and I want to do a full one as well. So yeah, that's an option. The next option that I have here, mainly for fun, it's a Pokemon Fire Red version on the Game Boy Advance. Um, this one is not blind at all. I've finished the game. Um, I haven't done like all like the post game stuff, I don't think, like all of the island stuff or whatnot. But I have played through the entire game and I beat the Elite Four and whatnot. Um, this one won't be Game Boy Player. It'll be emulated because I don't want to have to like buy a whole copy of the game just to do a Let's Play, and I don't want to like have to delete my file because Fire Red I'm actually still playing a little bit of. I'm trying to kind of do something with Pokemon. I talked about it in my Pokemon anniversary video, I'm pretty sure. Um, and again, I just picked this one because I thought it'd be kind of fun, and like I said, it'd be emulated. I will note one thing. Uh, I am not a competitive or elite or even smart Pokemon player. If anyone else even did this, I'm one of the people who gave my Rattata a cut because I could. I'm just like, oh, why not? He can learn it. Who the fuck cares? So now with that in mind, if this does get the vote and I do play it, I'm gonna do a little bit more. But I mean, I'm the guy who's like, and I've talked about this on the podcast as well. I'm the guy that is of the mindset that once you get your main Pokemon to level 30, you don't have to care. You can just steamroll the rest of the game, and that's been my mindset with all the Pokemon games. I mean, granted, I've only finished two, Silver and Fire Red, but that's my mentality. So I will play a little bit more smart. Like I will have Pokemon. I'll get Pokemon that serve a purpose rather than just getting the ones I like. And I'll probably pick my starter based on. I'm thinking maybe Bulbasaur just to be different because I picked Squirtle on my actual file, and in the past when I played Red version back in the day, I would always choose Charmander, and I think why not choose Bulbasaur? It'd be, something different. So yeah, I will try to play a little more smartly, but I do want to make it clear, please don't backseat game. Like you can give suggestions if I'm having trouble or if I'm just doing something just completely I mean, if you're with this one, if I'm doing something inefficiently, then I'm probably not going to take that advice because it's more of a personal thing. Plus, what may be not efficient to you may be efficient to me. So please don't backseat game. I understand that like for the hardcore players, there's like a system for things, but again, I'm not a heavy Pokemon player. This would just be kind of just for something different, just for something fun. So if you vote for this, keep that in mind that I'm not necessarily going to do everything right. So keep that in mind. And again, I'm the person who's all like, once you get your Pokemon to level 30, you don't have to care. I am going to try to have a more balanced team. Even if I have to grind later on, I actually know of a good grinding spot right outside Pallet Town. Like uh, when you get the ability to surf and you can go to the doohickey to go to the side where you can fight the Tangelas. I actually grinded on that, and because of that, I got a shiny Tangela, which I don't know. Like any bonus, I don't know what any bonus episode would be, just besides the extra stuff, or maybe showing off some of the Pokemon that I have on my actual file using the Game Boy Player or something. Something like that. But yeah, that could be a thing. I'm just gonna put this one kind of on the table. Minecraft is always probably gonna be on the table, no matter what voting is, and mainly it just because it has a lot of, it has probably the biggest longevity out of all the games on this list. Plus, it's just kind of fun. One thing about it, it does get kind of boring after a while. So this one, I kind of see it being more in like seasons, like having a long form Let's Play where I do a little bit, then stop, take a break, maybe play something else, and then come back to the same world. Possibly that's one way to do it if all I'm doing is playing like survival and just kind of digging and mining and trying to avoid creepers. That being said, this game is half blind, I'd say, because I haven't experienced the end or like some of the content for myself. I have seen like Let's Plays of it, particularly Achievement Hunters Let's Play, and I watched my friend Frozen Foxy's Let's Play of it, so I've seen a little bit of that. But in terms of my personal playing, I haven't seen everything. I tend to play on peaceful a lot of the time because a lot of times I just want to like explore or like just manage stuff. So In terms of what platform I'd play on, I'm not entirely sure. I might do PS3 or PS4 just for the sake of having a pass through and not having to like put a lot of strain on my computer. Um, which I guess I could. I mean, I don't know if it would necessarily matter. Um, I don't think there's too much of a difference between the PC and the console versions. I do think that playing on a console would be a little bit more fun. Maybe I don't really know. I mean, what I'd probably do with this one, I'd have a bit of a plan. I'd probably start off like mining stuff and showing that aspect of it, and then going to the end and playing that, because that's sort of like a final boss slash ending of the game, and that actually would be a good way to kind of finish everything. Um, like anything else would be bonus stuff, and even then, like it could go on for a long time. So this one, I don't necessarily see you guys voting for it unless you guys really want it to. But I mean, if you want to, go ahead, please go ahead and vote for it. Um, but it is going to be a longer one. Keep that in mind. I don't know how long it'll be, and there are at least two other games where they're a bit longer, and I'll go through them when we get when the time comes. But and by the time I mean like soon. But it would be um it would be something to consider at least, and you know, might play it on PC, might play it on console, probably PS3 or PS4. Like, you know, just different stuff. Um, one of the newer ideas I had was doing Sword of Mana for the Game Boy Advance. I do own a copy of the game. I don't know if I would emulate it or not. It's mostly blind because I've played a little bit of it, but not a lot. Um, and I picked this one as well because the gameplay is pretty similar to Legacy of Goku. It's speculated that this game inspired aspects of Legacy of Goku, probably the combat. So it's pretty similar, particularly Secret of Mana, and that's sort of the thing with this one. It would be also a bit of a bridge to start another series, kind of replacing Legacy of Goku. Because like after this, let's say I could take a break or do whatever, then go into Secret of Mana, take a break, do Seiken Densetsu 3, or as I like to call it, Stone of Mana. I know some people call it Secret of Mana 2, which I think is a pretty fitting name given the time of its general release. It has been fan translated, so that one I'll probably have to emulate, which is fine. And then maybe doing a Legend of Mana, and then I will do Dawn of Mana, even though I heard that game is not very good. I will do Dawn of Mana. Um, and probably Children of Mana. Like the idea is like it'd be a bit of a series, so keep that in mind when you're voting for this one. Or of course we could also play it by ear, but you know, I want to make sure you guys have the full picture. And some of you might be wondering why I'm not doing Adventures of Mana, which is like the remake and slash reboot of Sword of Mana. And the reason why is because I feel like that game is more a remake of Final Fantasy Adventure rather than the Mana series. Because I feel like Sword of Mana is sort of like if the Mana series, if like Sword of Mana or like Final Fantasy Adventure had it start as its own thing without being tied to Final Fantasy at all. Because I feel like even if you look at the graphics of the game, it does feel kind of Final Fantasy ish. And if you look at like the cell phone remake as well as the Adventures of Mana remake, the main character, who I believe his name is Sumo in those versions, um, he looks like the fucking warrior from Final Fantasy 1. Like he's got the red hair and everything. But here he looks a little different. Yeah, kind of looks like a Hyoga a little bit, or sort of like a King Arthur thing. I don't know, but that's the reason why. That's part of the reason. The other reason being like with it being a phone game, it'd be a little bit harder to record and a bit more expensive because one, I'd have to get an MFI controller. For those of you who don't know what that means, that's a made for iOS controller to play it on. I'm thinking the PXN Speedy or something. I hear that's like the best controller for iPhone. And then I'd also have to get the thing to hook up my iPhone to the Elgato so it could record properly, and that would be kind of tough to work with. I suppose if I were to do that, that would also open up Minecraft Pocket Edition. Should you guys decide for me to do that, or if I'm just like I'm just gonna do that one, um, or something like that. So that is one, arguably, whatever you want to see it, that's a positive or a negative, depending on how much you love or hate Minecraft. But yeah, Sword of Mana. Um, like I said, mostly blind. I'm not sure if I would emulate it. I do have it. I can do it on Game Player. I might just Game Boy Player. I might just emulate it though. I don't know, and it could be the start of another series that I think would be actually kind of fun to play. This next one is one that I've actually kind of talked about before, and that's Tales of Destiny Director's Cut. And the thing about this one is it was only released in Japan, and there's a fan translation being worked on, but there's no word on when it's going to come out. So this one is actually going to be a bit delayed, regardless of when I do it. I'm pretty sure this was one that was like a definitive yes. So that one will probably happen at whatever point. But I I think it'd be kind of fun to play because I love the Tales series, and I thought it'd just be kind of a fun one to do since I got it at AWA, so I'm just like, oh, why not? It could be fun. Um, I believe I mentioned it in the video where I talked about the idea, the AWA haul video, but I would be playing the Leon mode, just because that's the one I don't really know much about at all. Besides some stuff, a good chunk of the story is the same. His story also ends uh, when his story ends. Just to not spoil anything, but also let you guys know that the actual main story continues on after what happens to Leon. Um, and so that would bring up some questions on how to handle things, because then, like, well, do I just stop the entire LP there and just call it this, like, a Let's Play Tales of Destiny Director's Cut Leon mode thing? Or do I start a whole new playthrough of the game through the actual main character Stans, and like start a whole new playthrough that is like kind of like a separate thing, but if you watch it both, it's like you're getting two different pictures? Or do I start a new file, play through up to where Leon's story ends, and then continue onward from Stans? Like there are a couple of different ways it could work, and I'll leave it to you guys. This one, it won't be emulated. I'll just play it on the console, probably burned ISO. But yeah, that's definitely one of the more set in stone ones. It's more a matter of when rather than if, I think. So, though, speaking of Tales, the next one I had in mind for Tales, and this one we could actually do as soon as it gets time to do the next LP, and that would be Tales of Legendia for the PS2. This one's not blind at all. I've played through the entire game, and the reason why I picked it is because, in my opinion, it's the easiest Tales game, and I felt like it would be a pretty good one to start with, just because it's a bit different, and like I said, it's the easiest Tales game, so it wouldn't necessarily be that difficult to get through. Like, I'd have to, with the other ones, I'd have to take into account like different stuff. And that's another thing with both this one and Tales of Destiny Director's Cut. These could be seen as bridges to play other Tales games. Because most of the Tales games it's like Final Fantasy, where each game for the most part is different, with the exception of like sequels and whatnot and spinoffs. So it's mainly just like a starting point rather than a gateway to the series. It's just like, we just happen to start with this one. I know some people might be crying like, why not Fantasia, or why not play your favorite Eternia? And Eternia I'd want to save for a special occasion. Fantasia, I don't really know why, but I think Legendia would be kind of fun. You know, I think that'd be kind of fun to do, but again, it's up to you guys. So, um, a more recent idea I had was actually a Kunio-kun game, which has a long ass title, and that title is Shin Neketsu Koha Kunio Tachi no Baka, if I'm even saying that right, which I really hope I am. But it's a Super Nintendo game that I learned about later on. It's another beat 'em up game. That could be kind of fun to do. Um, It's fan translated as well. I did play a little bit of it just to kind of see what it was all about. The script is definitely very. I'm not usually one for swearing in fan translations, but I feel like here it works. And part of the reason why I was attracted to it is because besides Kunio slash Alex, and I think his name is Riki slash Ryan, you also get two females, or as far as I've seen, just one, and they're and I think that's kind of cool because then I get to play as a schoolgirl and act out my fantasies of being a schoolgirl and beating people up. That's not actually a fantasy, or is it? I'll let you decide. But yeah, it's mostly blind because I've only played a little bit of it, and it will be emulated because I don't have any way to play fan translations on the actual Super Nintendo. This could be a gateway to the rest of the Kunio-kun games. I don't necessarily see it as such. And it wouldn't. It would be all of like the downtown Neketsu games. Not like Renegade or anything like that necessarily. It would be all of like the ones with Alex and like school and whatnot, assuming they're any different. But yeah, that could be fun. And on that note, another one that I think would be kind of fun would be doing a River City Ransom on the NES, which it's would you even call it blind? Because I mean, I've played through River City Ransom EX, so it would kind of be. I don't know if it would necessarily be blind. It does look different because it was kind of Americanized. Like characters are wearing T-shirts and jeans, and girls are wearing skirts and blouses, and sometimes even like the little ascot thing. It looks, but it plays just like River City Ransom, and everything is the same except for like the graphics to look a little more American as opposed to looking Japanese. And I'd probably have to play it on the virtual console. I guess I could emulate it. It doesn't really matter to me how I play it. I've done a video on it before as well, so it could be kind of fun. Just something different. And that would be sort of that would be kind of a. I would count that one as part of the Downtown Neketsu, just because even though it's heavily edited and whatnot, it's still part of the series. So, so it's kind of like the Tales thing, where it's just an alternate to that series. But yeah, it could probably be done. Now, the second really large game would be a Dark Souls 1 for the PS3. As you can probably guess, it is anything but blind. I've played through the game, and I've played through several sections of it a few times, so I'm pretty familiar with it. Even played New Game Plus, so I've technically played the game twice. I haven't beaten Gwyn yet, and I'd only be doing New Game. In fact, I'd probably what I'd probably do is if I don't do the DLC before anytime soon, what I'd probably do is get to Gwyn, the final boss, and then go back and do the DLC, because I don't want to do it on New Game Plus. That's going to be too much of a pain. And I'd be playing it on PS3 just because that's the console I played it on, and it'd also probably be the easiest to handle on my computer. This one, since I'm pretty familiar with it, would kind of be like Clock Tower or the Legacy of Goku games, where I'm also sort of like talking about and sort of teaching a little bit if I can. Like I would do some new player strategies, like I'd probably show you how to get the Drake Sword and different stuff. It wouldn't necessarily be like a walkthrough or anything like that, but I would show sort of the stuff. I might even do the Master Key thing and skip through Blight Town, or come back to it later, or that would if I do that, that'd probably be a bonus episode, or at least go through it backwards. I'm not sure yet. For the sake of new players, I might just go through it and probably still get the Drake Sword, because that thing is, for new players, it's pretty useful. I've actually been playing the game a little bit and sort of like trying to work out like a good build for like my modern style of Dark Souls 1, because I do like to roll, and I feel like the fat roll in Dark Souls 1 is still pretty hindering. Even though for my first playthrough, I did it with fat rolling. I played the game with fat rolling. I tanked. Whereas nowadays, I like to have a shield, but I also like to be able to roll a little bit and dodge. And And like some of these other games, it could be seen as like a gateway into the rest of the series. So Dark Souls 2, maybe Scholar of the First Sin in place of it, I don't know. But also then Dark Souls 3, um, maybe Demon Souls, no to Bloodborne. I don't want to play Bloodborne unless you guys really, really, really want me to play Bloodborne. You know, you can vote for it if you'd like. You know, it's not gonna be that big a deal. Well, I know one thing I'd probably do if we play Bloodborne is I'll probably do the Saw Cleaver or something, because I feel like that's a pretty good weapon for that game's style. But yeah, if this game does vote like I said with Clock Tower and Sword of Mana, uh, and possibly Tales, keep in mind that if you're voting for this for Dark Souls 1, you're also technically voting for the others. But again, play it by ear. We can figure something out. Might even do a thing where like the two top votes, if they happen to be like games that are in the series, I'll just alternate those two, and that would actually be a good way of like killing two birds with one stone. Because I'll probably keep this list, maybe add to it later on. But yeah, this one I definitely want to do at some point. So that would be kind of cool. But again, up to you guys. And of course, I would also go into the lore as well because I am pretty. I've studied it a little bit. I'm not super knowledgeable about it, but I think it'd be interesting to give my own take on it and answer any questions that I feel like I can, or maybe try to get more people talking about something. You know, different stuff, I guess. The final one on this list, yes, the final one. This one I actually really want to do because I've been in a bit of a mood to play it. Is the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which is my favorite Elder Scrolls game, for various reasons, which I'll probably talk about within the game. And you know, since I love this game and have played a lot, I could go into lore like I could with Dark Souls, and I could go into like I would probably do a new player strategies or like just tricks, because I know like there's this one quest line that I use to get a lot of money. Um, that's it's sort of like my go-to, and like, you know, just different things. And I would do specific quests. I wouldn't be looking to do like a 100% thing. I would do specific quests. I've actually written out some of the stuff I would do. I would try to kind of mirror my first playthrough as much as possible. Um, I think it'd actually be kind of fun to do. So, um, wouldn't really be a gateway to the other series. I don't think this would just be a one-off unless you guys want me to play Skyrim. I don't know. I don't know about Morrowind. Arena and Daggerfall would probably be hard to pull off just because of their gameplay. And obviously, Elder Scrolls Online, that doesn't really work because it's an MMO, and I wouldn't want to let's play an MMO because then unless the MMO was like closing, and then it would be sort of like a let's semi-play or something. But this one I would probably like keep in the back burner. This one, like Dark Souls and Minecraft, is a bit long form. This one I think is probably more long form than Dark Souls. Because of the DLC as well as like the amount of quests. This is an open world game, so that would be you'd have to keep that in mind. But it would be a one-off, so it would be long. But after I finished it, like I probably wouldn't come back to it. I would do maybe some bonus episodes just to show the PC version. I would play it on PS3 just because that's one. I have the Game of the Year edition, so I have the DLC for that. That being said, playing the PS3 version, I won't have all the DLC. For a bonus episode, maybe I could get the Xbox version and get the DLC. Because I have the PC version, so it's like, and it's my favorite Elder Scrolls game, so I might as well get every single version that's available. You know, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess I should also note this game isn't blind at all because I've played it. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, there'll be a link in the description to the straw poll for those who want to vote on it. That, you know, just I'll leave it up to you guys, and I'll probably post it. If I don't get any votes, I'll probably just pick one of the ones that I really want to do, which will probably end up being either Dark Souls 1 or Oblivion or Advanced Adventure. I'm not sure. I'll figure something out. I'll probably just pick like a random one, be all like this one. and I'll probably keep the list. I say list, but all it really is just a folder with a bunch of pictures on it. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think, and obviously I'm going to be taking a break from Let's Plays to maybe do some other stuff. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you guys pick. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. This is Flames Around, aka Tasuke, 50 minutes long. Okay, bye.